When a judge orders no bond, most people assume the system has already decided guilt. That assumption is wrong and dangerous. In New Mexico, detention before trial is not automatic, even in the most serious cases. So the real question in the Timothy Busfield case isn't whether he's guilty. It's whether the law actually allows a judge to release him at all. What are the facts? Timothy Busfield, an actor and director best known for his work on The West Wing, is facing serious criminal charges in New Mexico involving alleged sexual offenses against minors. Prosecutors allege that Busfield engaged in inappropriate sexual contact with 2 children that were 11 years old at the time, with conduct alleged to have occurred over an extended period. He has been charged with multiple felony accounts, including criminal sexual conduct of a minor and child abuse. Now, Busfield has denied the allegations and has not been convicted of any crime. Prosecutors have also indicated that they intend to reference additional alleged conduct involving other individuals as part of their argument for pretrial detention. Those other allegations are not separate counts at this stage and are being raised for risk assessment purposes only. Busfield is currently being held pending a pretrial detention hearing in district court. At that hearing, the judge will weigh the evidence to determine whether Busfield should remain detained while the case moves forward to trial. Those allegations explain the stakes. However, they do not decide the legal question the judge must answer next. The prosecution has a strong argument. Here, the state will emphasize several factors. The alleged victims are minors, and the alleged access to children occurred in environments that are difficult to supervise through court conditions. The conduct is alleged to have occurred over time, not as a single, isolated event. Prosecutors will argue that tools like no contact orders, GPS monitoring, and travel restrictions do not prevent indirect contact, third-party communication, or opportunity created by everyday movement. From the state's perspective, this is not a case where risk can be reliably managed outside custody. The defense will respond with a fundamental point. In New Mexico, detention is not automatic. There is a real hearing. The burden is on the state, and release must be considered before incarceration. Let's go through their points. Busfield surrendered voluntarily. There was no public history of failing to appear, and strict conditions could be imposed. Electronic monitoring, supervised release, no contact with minors, and travel restriction. Now, the cross-examination. Here's where the analysis gets uncomfortable. The decision is not about how often defendants reoffend while on release. Judges in New Mexico do not decide detention based on statistics. They decided based on whether risk can actually be truly managed in a specific case. When alleged harm involves children, courts focus less on probability and more on the consequences, and on whether release conditions can realistically prevent access, escalation, or quiet violations that may go undetected until it's too late. That's the lens the judge will apply. Now, the law. New Mexico's system is more protective than many states. In places like Arizona, certain child sex allegations can trigger categorical, no bond rules once the evidence reaches a constitutional threshold. New Mexico rejected that approach. Here, detention is individualized. The defendant gets a meaningful hearing, and the state must meet a demanding burden, clear and convincing evidence that conditions will not work. That framework protects liberty, but it also authorizes detention when risk cannot be responsibly controlled. Next, my ruling. I think the judge will continue to order pretrial detention at this stage, not because detention is automatic, not because release is impossible in theory, but because the court is likely to conclude that no set of release conditions can realistically manage the risk here. This case involves claims of ongoing access to minors and alleged grooming behavior. These are risks that are difficult to neutralize through monitoring or paper restriction. GPS does not prevent proximity. No contact orders do not stop indirect communication. And violations in this context may not be discovered until after the harm occurs. In cases like this, courts don't ask whether conditions exist. They ask whether those conditions can actually work. In this case, that distinction matters, and it points toward detention. Pretrial detention is one of the hardest decisions a judge makes. It sits between constitutional restraint and public safety. In this case, I think the law points toward detention for now. Thanks for watching. If this breakdown helped, like and subscribe. And remember, the truth matters, and so does reasonable doubt. See you in the next case.